The sun had barely risen, but the desert was already shimmering with the kind of heat that bends the horizon and blurs the difference between sky and earth. A lonely wagon creaked and scraped across the hard ground, its wooden wheels wobbling as though begging to collapse. A woman, thin from hunger but hardened by loss, pulled the wagon by a fraying rope wrapped around her waist. Behind it huddled 7 children, all crying in staggered rhythms, filling the wasteland with a chorus of fear, exhaustion, and hunger. Her name was Mara Boone, newly widowed, newly hunted, and far too proud to let her knees buckle in front of her children. Her husband, Eli Boone, once a rancher with bright dreams, had died protecting their farm from a band of well-armed claim jumpers. Men who believed land was theirs if they wanted it badly enough. Men who believed a woman couldn't fight back. But Mara had fought. For days she traveled the desert in hopes of reaching the border town of Sundown Ridge, where a magistrate might listen to her story. But Sundown Ridge was 50 miles away, and she was down to 1 canteen, 1 loaf of stale bread, and a wagon that looked like it resented being alive. On the 4th day, as the sun slowly bled into the horizon, dust began to rise behind her. Not wind, not vultures. Hooves. Her heart tightened. She told the children to be silent. But the smallest child, a girl not yet 3, cried louder from sheer fear. The sound of hooves slowed, then stopped. Mara turned, expecting bandits or worse. Instead, there sat a lone man on a coal-black horse. Hat low, coat dusty, face unreadable. He didn't move, didn't speak. He simply watched her with eyes that were neither threatening nor kind, just observant. The children trembled behind the wagon. Mara stood tall despite her shaking knees. "I don't want trouble, sir." Silence. He finally nudged the horse forward. Up close, he looked like a man who'd seen the world burn and walk away without blinking. The kind of man who had nothing left to lose. In other words, the most unpredictable kind. The man glanced at the rope cutting into her waist, at the children wiping tears with dirt-streaked hands, at the wagon that should have been pulled by horses instead of a grieving woman. Only then did he speak. His voice was low, steady, with an accent from somewhere far across the plains. "Come with me." Mara had never heard a voice like his, soft but edged with steel, like someone who commanded obedience without raising it above a whisper. "I don't know you," she said, "and I don't trust strangers in the open desert." He nodded once, slow. "Smart. Strangers'll kill you." His eyes drifted to the sun, not for warmth, but for calculation. "But the desert'll kill you first." Mara crossed her arms. "Who are you? A bounty hunter? A fugitive? A drifter?" The man dismounted. He towered over her, but there was no threat in his posture, only weariness. "I'm a man with a horse," he said. "And you're—" A woman with 7 children pulling a wagon through hell. That truth alone made Mara swallow hard. He walked to the horse, pulled down a full canteen, and set it at her feet. "No charge," he said. Mara eyed it. "Why help us?" He didn't answer immediately. His gaze drifted across the wasteland, as if remembering something painful. "Once," he said, "someone helped me." A gust of wind picked up. The children huddled closer. Mara softened, barely. "If we come with you?" "Where would we go?" "To Sundown Ridge," he replied. "My direction, too." She narrowed her eyes. "Your name, stranger." He lowered his hat just enough for her to see a faint scar across his jaw. "Call me Gage Carter." The name hit her like a memory she couldn't place. A name she had heard somewhere, in hushed tones, perhaps whispered in a saloon. A name associated with violence or justice, maybe both. Before she could place it, the youngest child tripped from exhaustion and fell into the sand. Gage knelt immediately, lifted the girl gently, and handed her a piece of dried apple from his coat. The children stared as though he were magic. Mara's heart cracked. "You got enemies?" he asked her. She hesitated. "Yes." "Chasing you?" "Most likely." He stood, dusted off his coat, and looked at the distant plume of dust slowly gathering along the horizon. 3 riders, coming fast. Gage took a breath. "Then it's decided." She frowned. "What is?" He lifted the rope from her waist, like it was made of threads, and attached it to his saddle. "Come with me," he repeated. This time it wasn't a request. It wasn't a threat either. It was a promise. Gage mounted his horse in one fluid motion and, began pulling the wagon. Forward, faster than Mara ever could. The children gasped as they lurched forward. Mara jogged beside the wagon, stunned. "Why are you doing this?" Gage kept his eyes ahead. "Because those men behind us ain't the talking kind." They made it to the old abandoned church by dusk. Gage guided them inside, locking the doors and securing the windows. The children collapsed on the wooden pews. Mara tried to keep her composure, but the moment she heard the distant howls of wolves, or men that sounded like wolves, she felt her courage slipping. Gage remained calm, too calm. "Tell me about these men," he said as he checked his revolvers. Mara clenched her fists. "They took our land, killed my husband, burned everything we had." Gage didn't look up. "Names?" Lead man called Cyrus Ward. The revolver stopped halfway through the chamber rotation. Something in Gage's jaw tightened. "You know him?" Mara asked. Gage didn't answer. He holstered the gun and stood. "They'll be here by morning," he said. "Get some sleep." "I can't sleep," she whispered. "Try," he replied. "You'll need strength for what comes next." She stared at him, this silent stranger who appeared from nowhere, who spoke little, who carried the weight of old battles in his eyes. "Why do you care what happens to us?" she pressed. For the first time, he looked directly at her. "Because Cyrus Ward once took something from me, too." Her breath hitched. "What did he take?" Gage turned away. "My life," he said quietly. "Or the man I used to be." And in that moment, Mara Boone understood something. This stranger wasn't helping her because she was helpless. He was helping her because fate had delivered her right into the path of a man who had been waiting for vengeance long before she needed rescue. The night stretched long, and when dawn finally bled over the ridge, 3 riders approached, guns ready. Gage Carter stepped outside. Mara held her breath. The children clung to her, and Gage smiled for the first time, a dangerous, quiet smile. "Morning," he said to the riders. And everything that followed would change Mara Boone's life forever. Gunfire cracked like thunder across the open plain. The 3 riders attacking the church had underestimated the silent cowboy, gravely. Gage Carter moved with the precision of a man who had spent his entire life living 1 heartbeat away from death. The first rider fell before he could even raise his rifle. The second tried to circle left. But Gage rolled behind a boulder, fired once, and sent him tumbling off his horse. The third turned tail, racing back toward the canyon trail. But Gage didn't shoot him. He simply watched, calculating. Mara ran out of the church. "Why didn't you stop him?" "He'll bring more!" "Exactly," Gage said. "Now we'll know where they're coming from." He whistled sharply. His horse came running. He mounted in one fluid motion. Mara grabbed the saddle. "You're leaving?" "Only for an hour. Need to slow him down." She swallowed. "What if you don't come back?" Gage paused, eyes softening for the briefest moment. "I will." He rode off like a shadow swallowed by the horizon. The return of Gage Carter. He returned not in an hour, but at dusk, with 2 bullet holes in his coat, dust caked to his face, and a fresh scar above his brow. But he also brought 3 stolen horses for the children and food, scavenged from Ward's scout camp. "You're hurt," Mara said. "Just air passing through," he muttered, touching his coat hole. "Bullets didn't like me today." The children laughed nervously. He unloaded the food and, to Mara's surprise, knelt beside her eldest son, showing him how to properly hold a knife to cut through tough jerky. Mara watched this strange man, deadly as sin, gentle as a father, and felt something shift in her heart. The approach of war. 2 days later, the dust cloud appeared. Cyrus Ward wasn't sending 3 men now. He was bringing 15. Gage stood on the ridge overlooking them, jaw tightening. Mara climbed beside him. "We can't run." "No," Gage said. "Not anymore. Why did you really help us?" She whispered. He paused. "When Cyrus took my family, I hunted him till my soul turned to ash," he said. "I almost had him once, but a woman and her child got caught in the crossfire. They died because of me." Mara's heart twisted. "After that, I quit the gun," he continued. "Quit everything. Swore to wander till the world forgot my name." "Then why pick up your guns now?" Gage looked toward her children. "Because I'll be damned if I let Ward destroy another family." The final stand at Sundown Hill. The battle was brutal. Ward's men came from the south, firing wildly. Gage pulled Mara and the children behind the old fort ruins. Bullets chipped stone, dust swirling like a storm. At one point, Mara grabbed a rifle. Gage grabbed her arm. "You ever fired one?" "No." "Then stay with your kids." "I can help." He looked at her. Really looked. "You already have. You survived." And then he was gone again, slipping between shadows like a ghost. He moved so fast, Mara barely saw him, rolling, firing, ducking, reloading. Killing only when necessary, wounding when possible, but Ward wasn't easy prey. "Carter!" Cyrus Ward's voice roared across the battlefield. "Thought you were dead." "Not yet," Gage muttered. Ward fired. Gage dodged, but the bullet grazed his ribs. Mara screamed as he fell behind a collapsed wall. Ward approached slowly, savoring the moment. "Could have left the widow to die," Ward sneered. "But you had to play hero." Gage coughed blood, but grinned. "Ain't playin'." Mara charged out from cover before she could think. Ward turned toward her, and that mistake was all Gage needed. He fired. Ward fell. Silence rolled across the plain like a final breath. Afterward, Mara knelt beside Gage. "Stay with me, please." He touched her cheek with a dusty hand. "You're safe now. That's what matters." "You saved us," she whispered. He shook his head weakly. "You saved yourselves. I just nudged things along." The children surrounded him, crying. He reached out, ruffling the hair of the youngest girl. "I ain't had a family in a long time," he murmured. "Forgot what it's like." Mara held his gaze. "Then maybe, don't leave." His breath caught, surprised. "I ain't good company," he warned. "Maybe that's exactly the kind we need," she said softly. And for the first time since she met him, his eyes gentled, not with sorrow, not with vengeance, but with hope. "Come with us," she whispered, repeating his own words. Gage smiled. "Yeah," he said. "I think I will."